I cannot. I
Yeah.
physically and emotionally cannot take one more minute of watching grown women implode a decade-long friendship over a designer handbag and a vocabulary word. I mean, I am just so
Oh,
exhausted.
completely.
My nervous system is just totally and if you are watching this dynamic unfold on your screen, I know that you are feeling the exact same level of psychological fatigue. I mean, it is a lot.
Babes, welcome back. We love you. We see you. And honestly, if our lives had Bravo cameras following us around, the producers would mostly capture us overanalyzing our schedules, missing basketball shots, and discussing sunscreen like dermatologists.
Literally. That would be the entire show.
Right, but I need you to grab your orange creamsicle martini right now because tonight calls for peak Orange County energy.
It really, really does. I want to raise a glass directly to you, sitting there, surviving another week, a toast to getting through it, to never being labeled a Debbie Downer by your closest friends, and to this absolute dissection of luxury chaos. Cheers to you.
Cheers. But okay, before we unpack the absolute fever dream that was this week's television, we have to do our highs and lows of the upcoming work week.
Oh, the densest edition.
Exactly, the dentist edition. Because, when we aren't analyzing the socio-political hierarchy of Southern California housewives, we are literally staring into the mouths of the general public.
Which, frankly, gives us so much insight into human behavior. Like, people tell you everything when they were trapped in that chair.
Oh, they confess their deepest, darkest secrets while you're holding a suction tube.
Yes. So my high for this week is this one specific patient I have coming in. She is just like the chatty, fun, golden retriever energy that I desperately need to anchor my schedule.
Oh, I love those patients. They save the day.
They really do. You know exactly the type of patient I mean. The one where you don't even talk about enamel or gingivitis. Like, we just talk about her dog, we talk about the psychological benefits of her garden, and suddenly the cleaning is just done.
It's basically therapy.
It is. It's this tiny, optimistic beacon of pure human connection in an otherwise very clinical week.
Well, that is incredibly wholesome. You are looking for human connection, and I am looking for chemical intervention.
Wait, what does that mean?
My high is purely survival-based. I am looking forward to a very specific coworker bringing in the good coffee from that boutique roaster downtown.
Oh, the really strong stuff.
The incredibly strong stuff. That is the only thing that will pull me through the midday slump. By the time Thursday afternoon rolls around, I am no longer a medical professional. I am just a sentient ball of caffeine and spite, operating purely on momentum.
I completely validate that. Thursday afternoon dentistry is a dark place. But, the Sunday night optimism always crashes, so you have to tell me you're low. What is the appointment currently haunting your calendar?
Oh, it is looming over me like a massive dark cloud. I have a highly complex root canal scheduled, and it is on a patient who fundamentally refuses to floss.
No, the worst.
And he actively debates me on the necessity of x-rays, as if he has, like, a secret degree in radiology from YouTube.
Oh my gosh, I hate when they do that.
Right, and he acts like standard dental instruments are medieval torture devices. I literally have to mentally prepare for this appointment like I am negotiating a hostage situation.
Right.
It requires so much emotional labor before I even pick up a drill.
It is so wild how people will sit in a professional's chair and aggressively deny the reality of their own habits. Like, it is pure delusion.
Total delusion.
Which honestly prepares us perfectly for analyzing reality television.
Yeah.
But my low is just the crushing weight of adult responsibility waiting for me. Like, it is that horrific moment when the alarm goes off and all the, I'm going to meal prep, drink lemon water, and be a Zen goddess, energy completely evaporates.
It vanishes the second your feet hit the floor. And speaking of evaporating energy and pure delusion, we have to talk about our ongoing rec basketball madness.
Oh no. The spiral is so real. If you have ever joined an adult sports league thinking it would be like a casual, fun way to get some cardio, you know the exact trap we have fallen into.
It's a psychological trap.
It is. We are in a recreational basketball league, and I use the word recreational to describe our skill level, but definitely not the psychological stakes.
Let's put this into the historical record right now.
Yeah.
We possess a glaring, almost magnificent lack of athletic skill. Like, somehow we are still this bad, despite playing multiple games.
Really are so bad.
However, last game, I took a shot. It was a beautiful, arching three-pointer. It left my hands with perfect form. The spin was immaculate. It felt correct on a cellular level.
But wait, it bounced entirely off the rim? It didn't even go in?
But it almost went in.
Yeah.
It rattled the rim in a very authoritative way.
A moral victory.
Yes. I have hyperanalyzed the trajectory, the wind resistance, and the biomechanics of that ball in my mind for 4 consecutive days. That almost basket is now permanently cemented in my personal highlight reel.
This is exactly what I mean about delusion. You are taking this league way too seriously. I just question if raw athleticism can simply be manifested through good vibes alone.
I am trying to manifest it.
Like if I smile enough on the court and I just project a peaceful aura, will my layups magically start landing? Because the actual mechanical skill fundamentally refuses to appear. I am out there sweating, trying to be a peacemaker when guys get way too aggressive going for a rebound in a gym that just smells like old floor wax.
Babes, we're not athletes. We're participants with excellent attitudes.
We really are. We are providing the emotional support the league desperately needs. But speaking of weird hyperfixations, can we dissect for a second why our entire generation is so deeply structurally obsessed with celebrities?
Oh, it is a cultural sickness at this point.
Have you noticed this shift in how you consume media lately?
Yeah, I genuinely think the average person right now could pass a master's level exam on the relationship timelines of pop stars, but they know absolutely nothing about the people living directly next door to them.
That is so true.
Like, I couldn't tell you the last name of the guy who lives to my left, but I can give you a heavily cross-referenced chronological timeline of every A-lister's dating history since the Obama administration.
But why is that? I think it is because social media has turned every single one of us into an amateur detective agency. It is no longer just reading a magazine, it is fully interactive now.
Exactly. People are tracking unfollows on Instagram like they're analyzing stock market fluctuations.
Yes. They're zooming in on the reflection in a blurry paparazzi photo to see who is driving the car in the background. Like, it is exhausting, but it scratches this deep psychological itch we all have for puzzle solving.
Right, because human beings love pattern recognition. Celebrity drama is just a puzzle where the pieces are shiny, wealthy, and ultimately low stakes for our own lives. We project our own interpersonal anxieties onto these massive, untouchable figures.
That makes so much sense.
But you know what the other obsession is that is completely overtaking modern culture? And I say this as a medical professional who appreciates preventative care. It is the absolute Botox and sunscreen spiral we are living in right now.
Oh my gosh, the wellness culture spiral. I literally need to know the exact cultural moment that SPF transitioned from being a beach necessity to a substitute for an actual personality.
It happened insidiously.
Yeah.
Suddenly you have friends who talk about the gospel of mineral sunscreen with a terrifying religious devotion.
Terrifying.
If you step outside to check the mail without a thick layer of zinc oxide, they look at you like you just committed a cardinal sin against the universe.
And the pressure, the absolute exhausting pressure to prevent wrinkles that have not even conceptualized forming yet. Like, you see people in their early 20s stressing over preventative Botox.
Preventative Botox, it's wild.
It has completely warped how we view the natural progression of time on a human face.
Well, Botox is basically treated like getting a casual facial now. It has been completely stripped of its medical weight. The normalization of injecting neurotoxins on your lunch break, between picking up a sweet green salad and answering emails, is sociologically wild.
It really is. We are fighting a war against time, and we are heavily armed.
We are.
Well, for the record, our combined anti-aging strategy at this point is just drinking an aggressive amount of water, slathering on whatever SPF is closest to the door, and operating on pure, unadulterated delusion.
Hey, hoping for the best is a very valid medical strategy in my book.
But babes, enough about our upcoming workweek anxiety, rec basketball delusions, celebrity obsession spirals, and sunscreen sermons. Let's head to Orange County, where brunch is never just brunch, and one innocent comment can fuel an entire season.
Yes, let's unpack this luxury chaos, because Orange County delusion is a very specific, highly refined flavor, and this week it was served ice cold. We have to start with the Debbie Downer epidemic.
Oh, the Vicki spiral. I need you to brace yourself for this, because if you watch this episode, you know the exact level of unhinged behavior we are dealing with here.
It was so hard to watch.
The setup here is that last time they were together, Emily dared to call Vicki Gunvalson a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
And Vicki is fundamentally, molecularly broken by this label.
She cannot let it go. It has consumed her entirely. So we open the episode, and Vicki is at a med spa with Jen Pedranti. They are walking in for facials, which, by the way, should be a relaxing, silent experience.
Right, the spa day.
But Vicki is literally cornering the captive front desk staff to announce her personality type.
Yes. She walks in, corners the receptionists, and then later corners the poor esthetician,
Yeah.
who is literally just trying to put a soothing enzyme mask on her face. And Vicki says, totally unprompted, I am not a Debbie Downer. I am so excited about life. I swear to God, I'm not a downer.
Oh, my God.
And the esthetician is just staring at her, holding a hot towel, completely dead-eyed, clearly thinking, ma'am, I am just here to extract your pores.
And Jen is just hovering in the background like a weary handler at a zoo, just projecting this aura of, please do not make direct eye contact with her. She is in a very fragile state.
Totally.
But what is so fascinating from a behavioral standpoint is that complaining endlessly to absolute strangers about being called a downer is objectively the ultimate Debbie Downer move.
Yeah, what kind of is?
It is like a PR crisis being managed by a toddler.
Yeah.
If you want to prove you are fun, you don't scream about your inherent funness while someone is applying a toner.
Okay, but I have to push back here. I have to protect Vicki just a little bit in this scenario. Because think about where she is in her life. She is in her 60s. Why does this specific friend group, and Emily in particular, expect her to whoop it up at a senior frog spring break level every single time they go out?
I mean, she built her brand on it.
But let the woman rest. She built a massive insurance business. She has grandkids. She has lived a full life. Why can't they just accept that maybe the authentic version of Vicki right now is just a little more subdued? Emily slapping that label on her just felt incredibly dismissive of the reality of aging.
Look, I understand your empathy, and I would agree with you if Vicki actually accepted where she is in life. And she doesn't.
Well, that's true.
If Vicki just owned it and said, you know what, I am tired, I don't want to do tequila shots at 4 p.m., deal with it, it would be this amazing, empowering moment. But instead, her ego refuses to let go of the party girl archetype that made her famous 15 years ago.
She fights it so hard.
So she hosts a literal wine tasting event purely to prove to Emily and the group that she can still whoop it up. She is fighting a deeply public war against her own aging process, and she is losing badly.
And the winery event was tragic. It was like watching a play where the lead actor forgot their lines but absolutely refused to leave the stage. She sat there at the head of the table, screaming that she isn't a Debbie Downer at least 6 separate times. Heather even suggested in a confessional that they should make it a drinking game.
Which is frankly the only way the human nervous system could survive that dinner. What you have to realize about Vicki is that her denial requires everyone around her to actively participate in her delusion.
Yes, she demands validation.
She demands that you validate her self-image, regardless of the empirical evidence sitting right in front of you. I genuinely think every dinner party in Orange County should come with a licensed mediator and a strict liability waiver. Her emotional outbursts are a literal hazard at this point.
She just wants to be loved and validated by the group she helped build. She looks around and sees all these younger women taking over the space she created, and that Debbie Downer comment triggered a deep existential dread that she is being replaced.
Well, speaking of the women replacing her, let's talk about the actual enigma of this season. The new girl, Carmella Garcia.
Oh, Carmella. Now, this is where the mechanics of reality television get incredibly interesting. Because Carmella is a masterful player, but if you look closely, the math is entirely fictional. We need to analyze the commute and the career because none of it makes logical sense.
It really doesn't. So Emily goes to visit Carmella at her house. Now, Carmella has previously established that her children live in Rancho Santa Fe, which is where they go to school and have their entire lives. But Carmella is currently renting this incredibly sterile, heavily staged, very Airbnb-esque house in Corona del Mar.
Right, and if you are not familiar with Southern California geography, Corona del Mar is roughly 70 miles away from Rancho Santa Fe.
That is so far.
When you factor in the reality of the Interstate 5 traffic, that is a soul-crushing commute. You do not casually rent a secondary house 70 miles from your children unless there is a massive strategic imperative.
Right, and Carmella's cover story is that she needs to be close to the office because she is a high-level developer. But come on, we all know exactly why she rented that house in Corona del Mar.
We all know. She rented it to be within the filming radius of the Bravo cameras. It is a logistical requirement to be on the show.
It is the spatial manipulation of reality TV. Producers need the cast to be able to meet for spontaneous lunches, which you cannot do if one person lives 2 hours away.
Exactly.
But the house itself gives her away. It looks like nobody has ever boiled a pot of water in that kitchen. There are no family photos, no clutter. It is a literal showroom. And from that showroom, Carmella casually offers Jen Pedranti $20,000 just to, quote, pick out tiles for a development project.
Which, I have to say, bless Carmella for this. She sees that Jen is drowning. Jen desperately wants financial independence from her ex, and Carmella is swooping in to empower her.
Empower her.
Yes, I think it is a beautiful, rare moment of women actively supporting women with actual capital. If someone handed me 20 grand to point at a ceramic backsplash and say, I think the beige one brings out the natural light, I would cry tears of absolute joy. I would be employee of the month.
See, this is where your peacemaker heart completely blinds you to the strategic gameplay. You have to ask yourself, is Carmella running a feminist charity, or is this $20,000 the most expensive calculated Housewives entry fee we have ever witnessed?
Oh, wow.
Because Vicki's internal radar, her icky gut as she calls it, immediately goes off the charts.
Vicki completely loses her mind over this. She calls Carmella a liar to her face, says she isn't a real developer, and explicitly warns Jen to stay in her lane. Vicki lays out this elaborate prediction that Carmella's long game is to get Jen on the payroll, wait until the project is rolling, and then ask Jen's partner, Ryan Boyajian, to fund the rest of it.
And if we look at the history of financial grifts in this franchise, Vicki might actually have a very sharp point about how these cons operate. However, the hypocrisy of Vicki delivering this warning is staggering because the internet sleuths got to work this week and the projection is glaring.
The internet always brings the receipts. I could not believe what they uncovered.
It is a masterclass in projection. Vicki was incredibly protective of the word developer at that table. She kept saying, my boyfriend Mike Smith is a real developer. You don't know what it takes.
Right.
So people naturally looked up Mike Smith's credentials. His company is called Focal Point Development Services, LLC. If you try to go to the website today, the domain is expired. It is a literal dead link.
I cannot handle the embarrassment of a dead link when you are bragging on national television.
It gets worse. The bio he puts out there claims he oversaw massive, prestigious projects, like the residences at the Little Nell in Aspen. But when you search the public records and the predominant figures for those specific developments, his name does not populate as the frontman or the lead developer.
Oh, yikes.
He might have been involved in some capacity, but he wasn't the titan Vicki is describing. So Vicki is taking her own deep-seated insecurities about her boyfriend's murky resume and projecting them entirely onto Carmella.
That is so messy. But this is why I am fundamentally on Carmella's side here. She takes all of Vicki's aggressive projection completely in stride. Like, later in the episode, Emily sits Carmella down and essentially acts like a district attorney.
Our favorite role.
Emily interrogates her, asking, do you have any skeletons in your closet we need to know about? Are there criminal records?
And Carmella does something brilliant. Instead of getting defensive or lying, which always backfires because the truth always comes out, she just serves her own skeleton up on a silver platter. She neutralizes the threat by controlling the narrative.
She doesn't even blink. She casually drops the story that when she was 20 years old, she was arrested for violating a restraining order.
Incredible.
And the details are cinematic. She paints this picture where she was on a stripper pole at a dive bar in Ohio. She gets into a massive verbal altercation with her ex-boyfriend's ex's friend. The friend throws a drink directly into Carmella's face. A full brawl ensues, and Carmella ends up featured in the local Ohio paper under the headline, Jeff's Juke Joint Judo Queen Dodges Jail.
Yeah. It is the most flawlessly executed reveal of a troubled past in the history of this franchise. She owns the absurdity of it, she acknowledges her youth, and by laughing at herself, she completely disarms Emily. It is elite-level psychological maneuvering.
She is a survivor. I will defend her tactics all day. When they finally get to the winery table, she sits there while Vicki, Gina, and Emily take turns verbally beating her down, and she never raises her voice. She doesn't break a sweat. She just absorbs the chaotic energy.
She really did.
And the absolute best part. Because Vicki was being petty and didn't officially invite her to the wine tasting, Carmella just brought her own vodka in a bag.
Yeah.
She sat at a wine tasting drinking bag vodka. I respect the resourcefulness so much.
Okay, she is tactical genius in the moment, yes. But her broader strategic moves with the group, specifically her gift giving, are what caused the absolute friendship warfare that we need to dissect next. Yeah. The Dior bag and the betrayal. This is where the psychology of wealth gets very dark.
My heart physically hurt during this segment. If you have ever navigated the shifting alliances of adult friendships, you know they are such fragile ecosystems. And we watched a decade-long bond between Emily and Gina crack right down the middle over a purse.
Let's lay out the sequence of events objectively. For Emily's birthday, Carmella, who again is essentially a stranger who has known Emily for about 5 minutes, gifts Emily a $3,000 Dior handbag and, bizarrely, a dildo.
Which, side note, The rumor mill is spinning out of control that the Dior bag was actually a re-gift directly from Carmella's own closet. Observers notice it didn't seem to have the pristine brand-new boutique packaging.
Interesting.
But regardless of its origin, it is a $3,000 luxury asset being handed across the lunch table.
Precisely. So Gina, who has been Emily's absolute ride-or-die best friend for years, confides in Emily in what she explicitly thinks is a safe space.
Yeah.
Gina says, look, this gift is weird. It feels highly transactional. I'm getting serious ulterior motive vibes from Carmella.
Which is so fair.
Right, which I argue is a perfectly reasonable and grounded thing to say to your best friend when a random wealthy woman drops $3,000 on her after one awkward interrogation.
Yes, that's exactly what best friends are for. You are supposed to be able to vent, read the room together, and figure out people's motives behind closed doors.
Yeah.
But Emily takes that private moment, immediately turns around, drives to Carmella's sterile Airbnb showroom house, and tells Carmella exactly what Gina said, verbatim.
She really did.
She completely, utterly broke girl code. I was spiraling.
I am going to challenge the girl code defense here, because you are looking at this through the lens of standard friendship, and Emily operates through the lens of a litigator. Emily is an attorney. She treats her interpersonal relationships like hostile witness cross-examinations.
But it's her best friend.
Doesn't matter. If you tell an attorney a secret, you have to expect it to be entered into discovery to serve their broader case. Emily saw a clear opportunity to bond with the powerful, wealthy new girl by sacrificing Gina's private grievance as an offering. It is a cold, calculated transaction, but from a power consolidation standpoint, it is highly effective.
But it is so unnecessarily cruel.
Yeah.
And it all culminates in the blowout at the winery. Emily and Heather Dubrow are already in a screaming match, which we have to get into. And Gina, being a loyal friend, tries to step in and mediate the tension so Emily doesn't look like a monster. And Emily turns on her own best friend and brutally shuts her down. She looks Gina dead in the eye and says, I don't need you to be a part of this conversation.
Oof. If you pause the screen right when Emily says that, you can pinpoint the exact millisecond Gina's heart breaks.
It was devastating.
Gina realized in real time in front of a camera crew that Emily was actively trading her in for a newer, wealthier alliance.
I was spiraling watching it. I wanted to reach through the screen and mediate it myself. Gina's New York energy usually acts as this impenetrable armor, but you could see straight through it. She was deeply, profoundly hurt. Emily stomped all over years of trust and shared history just to secure her spot next to Carmella and a potential $20,000 tile-picking gig down the road. It felt so deeply cynical.
Well, the collateral damage from Emily's sharp tongue did not stop with Gina. We have to pivot to the other casualty of the Winery dinner, Heather's tears and Shannon's wallet, because Emily was acting like an emotional wrecking ball this week.
Okay, so the context for the Heather fight is that Emily had previously told Jen Pedranti that Heather called Jen obsessed with Tamara. Emily is just running around Orange County acting as a courier for everyone's worst thoughts.
Literally.
So Heather confronts Emily about this triangulation in the Winery dinner, and Heather actually starts crying at the table.
Which is incredibly rare for fancy pants Heather Dubrow. She prides herself on extreme emotional regulation.
Very rare. Heather is crying because during the argument, Emily aggressively told her to stop talking. And Heather completely breaks down, lamenting about her childhood. She explains that she grew up in a very cold, dismissive family environment, which is why her friends' betrayals and dismissals trigger her so severely.
Right.
When a friend tells her to shut up, it hits a very deep, unhealed, inner child nerve.
It is classic psychological displacement. Heather isn't really crying about Emily. She is crying about her formative years. But Emily is entirely devoid of emotional intelligence in this moment.
Entirely.
Emily's defense is essentially two disparate concepts can exist simultaneously. You can be my close friend, and you can also be highly irritating in this moment, and therefore I am well within my rights to tell you to shut up. It is a completely logical, emotionless argument, which makes for explosive television, but terrible friendship.
I just wanted to wrap Heather in a blanket. But the emotional whiplash of this episode is severe, because immediately after Heather's childhood trauma tears, the show hard cuts to Shannon Beador and Gene the Machine.
A legendary editorial pivot. Shannon takes her 97-year-old father, Gene, out to a casual lunch. And I have to say, for 97, Gene looks fantastic.
He looks incredible. And they spend the first half of the lunch brainstorming new marketing nicknames for Shannon. She is aggressively pitching Shannon the Cannon and Bador the Explorer. It is such a pure, chaotic father-daughter dynamic.
But the purity evaporates instantly when the conversation shifts to Shannon's finances.
Oh, the finances.
Shannon casually admits to her 97-year-old father that she has absolutely terrible budgeting skills, possesses no financial foresight, and is currently paying $10,500 a month for a rental house in Corona Del Mar that doesn't even have a backyard.
$10,500
Yeah.
every single month for zero grass. Vicki even told her in a previous scene, I am a millionaire and I'm not spending that kind of money on rent.
Yeah.
And Shannon is 62 years old, sitting there asking Vicki for basic retirement advice as if she just opened her first checking account. It triggers a profound financial anxiety in me just watching it.
Speaking of Shannon's financial entitlement and anxiety, we have to break the fourth wall right now and talk about the off-camera mess that is currently setting the Bravo blogs on fire. We need to analyze the great quiet woman boycott.
Oh, this is my absolute favorite subgenre of Bravo drama.
Yeah.
I love when the artificial world of the show violently collides with the reality of local small business operations. Let's unpack this fully.
So Shannon has been on a massive podcast press tour recently, and she proudly announced that she is officially boycotting the Quiet Woman restaurant. Now, if you know the show, you know the Quiet Woman is an iconic Newport Beach establishment. It is essentially a supporting cast member.
It really is.
Shannon has filmed legendary, career-defining scenes there, plate throwing, screaming matches, iconic exits.
This isn't my plate, you blooping bitch. It's a historical landmark at this point.
Exactly. So why the sudden boycott? Well, recently, Shannon brought Andy Cohen and 6 other housewives to the Quiet Woman for an off-camera private dinner. And at the end of the night, when the plates were cleared, the manager actually walked over and handed Andy Cohen a physical bill.
A piece of paper with a dollar amount on it, instead of comping the entire meal.
The sheer audacity. Now, the story goes that the manager supposedly realized the error of charging celebrities and eventually ripped the bill up. But Shannon is furious. She claims that she has personally given the Quiet Woman hundreds of thousands of dollars in free Bravo public relations over the last decade, and they showed zero gratitude by trying to charge Andy Cohen for a steak.
I mean, I have to ask, is she entirely wrong?
Are you serious?
Think about the marketing ROI, the return on investment of a Bravo feature. Every single Bravo fan who visits Southern California makes a pilgrimage to the Quiet Woman just to take a selfie. She put them on the map for a massive global demographic of affluent women. And I feel like, logically, they owed Andy Cohen a free plate of calamari and a martini at the very least.
I will demand an itemized invoice for Shannon's alleged PR services before I side with her on this.
Come on.
Yes, the marketing ROI of reality TV placement is technically high. Industry standards estimate that a 30-second primetime spot on a show with this demographic is worth anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 in equivalent advertising. But the operational reality is that it is a local restaurant with thin margins, demanding free food from a stressed restaurant manager, while a literal millionaire like Andy Cohen is sitting there happily pulling out his black card to pay for his own meal, is unhinged behavior. It's a local tavern, Shannon, not a corporate hedge fund with a marketing budget.
But she holds a grudge with Olympic-level endurance, which perfectly segues into the other off-camera feud we have to mention, her war with comedian Heather McDonald.
The feuds are overlapping and compounding, so Heather McDonald recently went on her platform and mocked Shannon for constantly falling over in scenes.
Right.
Heather heavily implied that Shannon fakes her clumsiness, pretending to trip over nothing, purely to create a slapstick storyline for herself.
And Shannon did not let that slide. She clapped back hard on a podcast. And she didn't just defend her neurological balance issues. She went straight for the loyalty jugular. She reminded Heather McDonald that years ago, she used to take Heather to USC football games and sit her right on the 50-yard line.
Unbelievable.
Her defense was literally, I gave you premium collegiate athletic seating. How dare you mock my center of gravity?
Shannon weaponizing a USC football ticket from half a decade ago to defend her current lack of coordination is a masterclass in holding a grudge. It shows that in her mind, every interaction is a ledger, and she remembers exactly who is in debt to her.
It is truly a dark art form. Okay, we have covered so much psychological ground today. Let's move into our structured segments and give out some awards. Segment 1, Orange of the Week. Who is getting your top honors for this episode?
Let's start with the episode MVP. I am giving it to Carmella without a doubt.
Oh, I completely agree.
For having the fortitude to sit at that winery table, pulling a literal bag of clear liquor out of her purse because the host was too petty to invite her, taking a sustained, multi-pronged verbal assault from Vicki, Gina, and Emily, and never once breaking her stoic composure. She absorbed their panic and reflected it back at them. She is a queen of emotional regulation.
She earned her status right there. Okay, best confessional has to go to Vicki. The sheer blinding lack of self-awareness required to sit in a serene med spa, insisting to a captive esthetician who is just trying to apply a gentle toner that she isn't a Debbie Downer. It was accidental comedy gold. It belongs in a sociology textbook.
Absolutely. Biggest pot stirrer is unequivocally Emily Simpson. We have to respect the efficiency of the chaos. She managed to accept a $3,000 Dior bag, immediately betray Gina's most private venting session, and trigger a childhood trauma response that made Heather Dubrow cry all within one single news cycle. That is lethal gameplay.
It is destructive but undeniable. And finally, most unintentionally chaotic moment goes to Shannon. Attempting to rebrand her entire personality as Bador the Explorer while simultaneously bleeding $10,500 a month for a rental property with zero grass is the kind of cognitive dissonance that deserves a plaque in a museum.
A masterpiece of bad decision-making. Let's transition to segment 2, receipt or reach. I am going to throw out the biggest accusations from the episode, and we will analyze if it's a legitimate receipt based on evidence or a dramatic, paranoid reach.
I am ready to judge.
Accusation 1. Vicki claims Carmella isn't a real developer, has no actual capital, and is just lurking around looking to steal Ryan's investment money for a phantom project.
Reach. Complete, total, and utter Housewives delusion. This entire theory is fueled exclusively by Vicki's territorial jealousy over her legacy on the show. Vicki cannot handle a new, younger woman coming in with alleged wealth and a career that threatens Vicki's self-appointed status as the sole boss of the group. Plus, as we discussed, Vicki's own boyfriend's development website is currently a dead, expired link. She is throwing stones from a glass house. Massive reach.
Agreed. The evidence points projection. Accusation 2. Gina claims that Carmella effectively bought Emily's friendship and loyalty with that Dior bag because Carmella was initially intimidated by Emily's aggressive interrogation tactics and needed to neutralize her.
Ooh, I have to say receipt on this one.
Yeah.
Because if we look at human behavior, it is objectively weird to give a practical stranger a $3,000 purse and a sex toy unless you are aggressively purchasing an alliance.
Right.
Carmella is smart. She knew Emily was a heavy hitter in the social dynamic. She felt the heat of the interrogation, and she threw a luxury bribe to neutralize the loudest threat in the room. It worked perfectly, but Gina's read on the situation, her receipt, is entirely valid.
The logic holds up perfectly. A luxury bag is the ultimate Trojan horse. Okay, accusation 3. Shannon claims she built the entire modern success of the Quiet Woman restaurant single-handedly and therefore deserves endless comped meals and VIP treatment in perpetuity.
Reach. Look, I want to defend Shannon's impact, and I agree the Bravo feature brought them undeniable tourist foot traffic. But walking into a packed operating restaurant with 6 reality stars and the executive producer of the network and expecting the manager to just comp a $1,000 dinner because you yelled at Kelly Dodd in their dining room 5 years ago?
It's absurd.
That is peak entitlement. Pay your bills, Shannon. Tip your server.
Absolutely a reach. You cannot pay your utility bills with Bravo exposure. Which brings us to segment 3, the Bravo group chat. We love to imagine what the cast's private text threads look like at 1 a.m. after a long, exhausting night of filming.
Okay, I will set the scene for you. The winery dinner just wrapped. Everyone is furious. They're all sitting in the back of their respective black SUVs, heading home on the freeway, and the group chat lights up.
Vicki texts the group first, all caps. Has anyone seen my fun? I left it next to my youth and the Debbie Downer comments. Also, who invited Carmella and her baggie of vodka?
Emily replies with cold, legal precision. Gina, I value you as an acquaintance. Please submit your grievances regarding my behavior via a signed, notarized affidavit by 9 a.m. tomorrow, or they will be dismissed.
Gina responds exhausted. I'm literally standing right next to you in the driveway, Em.
Shannon chimes in out of nowhere, completely missing the context. Does anyone know if Target comps meals if you mention Bravo? Asking for a friend with a $10,500 rent check due on the 1st.
And finally, Carmella texts. Just checking in. Does anyone else want a luxury bag to secure their loyalty? Or should I just throw this Prada at a pigeon?
The accuracy of that. Honestly, Carmella feeding Prada to local pigeons is my new favorite aesthetic. It represents the utter meaninglessness of their wealth. Which leads us to segment 4, next week in the OC. Let's analyze the trajectories and make some predictions. Which friendship is fundamentally about to implode?
It has to be Gina and Emily. The structural cracks are showing, and they are deep. Gina's core New York energy will not tolerate being sidelined and humiliated in public. She has been fiercely loyal to Emily for years, acting as her sounding board and protector. Watching Emily casually trade her in for a new girl with a checkbook and a Dior bag is going to cause a massive, unfixable fracture in their dynamic.
I completely agree, and it breaks my heart because they were the grounding force of the show. Who do you think is secretly holding a grudge that is going to detonate?
Jen Pedranti. She is smiling and playing the peacemaker right now, trying to keep everyone calm. But she is eventually going to realize that Vicki is actively, maliciously trying to sabotage her $20,000 tile-picking gig. When Jen realizes Vicki is threatening her path to financial independence, that gentle smile is going to drop and she is going to snap.
You never, ever mess with a woman's financial independence, especially when she is trying to rebuild her life. Okay, give me one completely ridiculous prediction for next week that somehow feels entirely possible within the logic of this universe.
Shannon accidentally slips and falls at a completely different local restaurant, immediately demands a lifetime supply of comped appetizers as an out-of-court liability settlement, and brands her new era, Shannon the Cannon of Litigation.
That is so incredibly accurate. It is the perfect synthesis of her clumsiness, her financial panic, and her entitlement. It basically writes itself.
It is a guaranteed storyline.
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, if you have made it this far, that brings us to the end of our recap of the OC delusion. Before we sign off, we need to bring this back to you.
We always want to know where your head is at after absorbing all this chaos.
Think about your own week ahead. What is the high and low of your upcoming work week? Let us know that we aren't the only ones dreading the Monday morning alarm.
Secondly, are you also weirdly invested in the mechanics of celebrity drama? Please validate my theory that we are all running part-time detective agencies from our phones.
And most importantly, is sunscreen a skincare product for you? Or has it become a full-blown lifestyle ideology at this point? Be honest with yourself.
But we want to leave you with one final, provocative thought to mull over as you go about your day. We've debated the ethics, the deep-seated jealousy, and the brutal reality of girl code, but I want you to put yourself in those designer shoes for just a second.
Yes. Imagine this scenario playing out in your actual life. If you were gifted a $3,000 handbag by a total stranger who then turned around and offered your best friend 20 grand just to point at some ceramic tiles.
Would you run for the hills because the psychological red flags were blinding you?
Or would you swallow your pride, ignore the red flags, and ask if they needed someone to pick out the grout for an extra 10K?
Honestly, I am picking out the grout. I will point at beige all day long.
Me too. Every single day of the week. Secure the bag.
Stay shady, stay fabulous, and we'll see you on the Snark side.